Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Instant Reaction Post-Game Show brought to you by irishsportsdaily.com. I am Greg Flamong. One thing that happens when there's a long delay like this is things come up and we run into issues. Jamie he had coverage. We should have been done with the post-game show by now. Lost coverage. Mike is busy. I sent out a link to Mike, so when he becomes available, he's going to try to get onto this show. But I'm going to talk about this game. I'm going to talk about the defense. Definitely going to talk about the defense because they're just I think Chris Ash doesn't have a ton of answers, right? And I know that Notre Dame was able to pull away in the second half, mostly because the offense just continued to pour it on Purdue and their defense. But, I mean, let's not mistake things, right? Purdue had 23 points in the first half. I thought the end of the first half defensive situation was unacceptable, for lack of a better way to put it. They moved 53 yards in 75 yards in 53 seconds. Didn't have to use a timeout. No answers, no buttons pushed by Chris Ash there. There were some pretty good performances on defense. I want to talk about those. Obviously, the offense was unbelievable. 535 total yards from the offense, 8.5 yards per play, 254 yards rushing. Looks like 28 carries for Jeremiyah Love and Jadarian Price. What is that? 221 yards, 6 total touchdowns for them. So we're going to get into all that stuff. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. Of course, if you like what you hear, please hit that like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. So you know, whatever it is, we are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang, and Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. As Notre Dame reloads for the season, now's the time to refresh your wardrobe and add the perfect suit, sport coat, tuxedo, or casual jacket for fall. ESQ's master tailors combine next-level craftsmanship with the finest fabrics to deliver a fit that's built just for you. Now with showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka, book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment and receive 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. So it was yesterday, I want to say about noon, when I got word that Leonard Moore and Devontae Smith were going to be out for this game. They were not healthy enough to play. I think when I watched Leonard Moore play on the All-22 from the A&M game, I kind of got the sense that this might happen because he just was limping. He was very much laboring on the ankle. And I had also heard that Devontae Smith was not doing very well on his ankle. So they were going to be out. Notre Dame was going with Dallas Golden and Mark Zachary in the secondary. I don't know that Carson Hobbs got a snap in this game. I don't know if there's an injury there as well. But he did. I don't know that he got a snap this season. Or in this game. So I don't want to, when we went into this game, I knew it was going to be tough from the standpoint of you just can't lose guys like Leonard Moore. Adon Schuler's out. And you just can't not have them, right? And it's going to look exactly like you want. Notre Dame was already struggling on defense, and then you lose your top defensive backs there. So it's going to look a little bit shaky, right? And you knew that, and you knew the offense was going to have to come through for Notre Dame, and they did. Okay, and that's important to point out. Notre Dame needed to win this game. They were 0-2. You don't want to go 0-3, obviously. They needed to have a good performance from the offense. There was a question about, is CJ Carr going to have a come down after, the big games against Miami and Texas A&M? He obviously did not. 10 of 12 passing, 223 yards and 2 touchdowns, 83% completions, 294.4 passer rating. He obviously hits Malachi Fields on the post route on the first play of the game. One of the best post routes we've seen in recent memory, right? And I think, Notre Dame's been able to, take deep shots, but they haven't been able to hit that post. And it's just so important, I think, that teams are able to hit that post, right? Because it's the middle of the field. It threatens the defense in a way that they don't normally get threatened. And it kind of sends shivers through every defensive coordinator that you're ever going to face. And so they needed to hit that post route. It's a beautiful route. It's a beautiful ball right over the shoulder into the bucket, and they make it happen. And from there, Notre Dame pretty much took over the game running the football. Jadarian Price and Jeremiyah Love continued to be as good as they've been in the previous games. It was funny. Jeremiyah Love had 14 straight carries before Jadarian Price touched the ball. And Matt Freeman had put in our chat, like, is he hurt? Like, is Jadarian Price hurt? Like, why aren't they playing him? They put him in the game. First carry, he runs 21 yards for a touchdown. He returns the kickoff for a touchdown. He has 4 total touchdowns in the game. Jadarian Price ends with 9 carries and 74 yards, 19 carries for 157 and 2 touchdowns for Jeremiyah Love. Obviously, you run the ball 43 times for 254 yards. The offensive line is doing work, and they did. I thought we saw some really good things from Ge Lambert in this game. This was a build-on-it moment for Ge Lambert. He looked powerful. He looked elusive. They had him at tackle at times. They had him at left tackle when Anthony Knapp went out really quickly with the foot injury, and he came in. But when that happened, they had Lambert at left tackle. They put Absher at right guard. So that's something to monitor going forward. Paul Kinlan says, good grief, Greg. Is CJ Carr amazing or what? Some NFL stuff in that kid. I'll tell you what, the stuff that he does on the throw, on the rollout, when he throws that out route, it's so pretty. I mean, the post route that he threw is so pretty. I mean, he was in complete control today. You would never know. I mean, you just have to say, you would never know that this is a player making his third start as a redshirt freshman. You just absolutely would not. And, Marcus Freeman is going to take some heat on this show and, kind of going forward for the way the defense has performed. And we'll get into that. But he absolutely had a decision to make at quarterback. And he said it. He went with his gut, and he was right. CJ Carr has been absolutely unbelievable so far this year. And Marcus Freeman deserves all the credit in the world for that. CFB Hertz, thank you for the super chat, says, shame on NBC showing Buckner's drop last week when Chris Ash was sitting right there for them to talk about. I'm not going to use curse words, but thank you for the super chat, CFB Hertz. I thought, look, NBC wanted to make the point about how Marcus Freeman was being accountable and using that moment to hold Tyler Buchner accountable, hold himself accountable, hold the whole team accountable. It just did. I think they need to be a little bit more aware of what's happening online in the conversations that are happening around these players. You don't he has dealt with enough. He has been battered online enough, and he doesn't need to be brought up again. He is not a storyline in this game, and it needs to not be a storyline for the rest of the year. Okay. It didn't have to be in this particular case. I agree with CFB Hertz. They need to be a little bit more aware that we live in an environment where these kids, when they make a mistake, they get brutalized for the entire week. He didn't need it today because he wasn't a storyline. Sergio says, how's the defense? I haven't heard yet. Listen, it was going to be difficult because of the fact that they had Golden and Zachary out there. It just could not be. And Notre Dame does not feel that they are ready. They didn't want to play them against Miami. They didn't want to play them against Texas A&M. Okay. If they thought they were ready, we would have seen them a little bit more than that. And we've kind of heard they don't know that they're ready for this yet. Okay. So on that front, it is difficult, right? That being said, the answers that they were looking for did not show themselves. Early in the game, we did not see pressures from Notre Dame. They did some stunting up front, but they weren't sending heat. And I get it. It's hard to do the complicated stuff when you got youth back there. I understand that, right? You got to get it figured out. Purdue ends the game, and the pass at the end, actually Dallas Golden does exactly what you need to do. He rakes the one arm, and the kid makes a one-handed catch. I'm not going to hold that against Dallas Golden, but Brown, the quarterback, before he exited the game, 21 of 34 for 250 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 62% completions. On the one hand, if Notre Dame knew that they could move the ball the way that they did, if Notre Dame knew that they could they could put up the points that they did. And, Chris Ash wants to keep things in front of them. I guess that's fine. Marcus Freeman talked during the delay that they were giving up too many explosives, which is true. They played zone all the way into that final drive before the first half. They played zone all the way until they played man, where Mark Zachary got beat. I'd have to watch it back. When I saw the replay, I thought Jalen Stroman needs to be able to make a play on that. It's a condensed formation, and you have a receiver from essentially the slot, and he's playing center field, run a little corner route, but he doesn't get to the corner. He's kind of central. I mean, he needs to see that and get over top of that, and he's not anywhere near it. Mark Zachary got no help there. And so he needs to play that better. It needs to be coached better. It's just that there doesn't seem to be the answers that Notre Dame's looking for. They don't seem to be readily available. Envy Irish brings up the over-under next week's going to be in triple digits. Our Arkansas, they blew it in this game today. They blew the victory. They're basically on inside the 10, down 1 with a little over a minute left, and the running back fumbles, and they go on to lose. That's heartbreaking for them. But Taylon Green put up numbers. I mean, he was almost at 10 yards per attempt in this game. Brett Painant says, why not let Ketty sling it around a bit more in the fourth quarter? I thought they threw the ball a ton. Let's go back and look at his numbers. Kenny Minchie threw the ball 8 times in a quarter, up by 30 points. I thought they threw it well. I thought they threw it enough with him. He threw it 4 less times than CJ Carr did in the whole game. They threw deep with him. I thought he looked good. I know he was late on the throw to Elijah Burris. I kind of wish he'd thrown that ball to. I kind of wish he'd thrown that boundary ball to Williams on the bottom, because I kind of want to Cam Williams. I kind of want to see him try to make a play, because I think it would be good for him to make a play in a football game, because he hasn't yet. But yeah, I thought they opened it up for him a good amount. I think he should be pleased with how they treated him when he came in the game. So that'll be interesting. Envy Irish says Elijah Hughes played well. Glad to see Young get the sack. Might be a get right moment for him. Hopefully Bryce Young can build some confidence off that. Jamie, our defensive line consigliere, pointed out during the game that he thought Elijah Hughes was playing well. There were some absences from the game. From some players. Like we didn't see Jared Dawson play. I didn't see Luke Tolich play, which is interesting given the fact that they were short in the secondary and it was a blowout. I mean, maybe they got in the game and I just need to go back, but like late in the game, I saw Adon Schuler in there. I saw Tay Johnson in there. Maybe they wanted those guys to work together, because they didn't get the chance in the first half, but there were some absences, but I thought Elijah Hughes played well. Let me see if I can get some stats on him and the rest of the defense. Jalen Stroman with 6 tackles, led the defense. Elijah Hughes with 4 tackles, 2 solo tackles, 1 tackle for loss for Elijah Hughes, 5 tackles for loss for Notre Dame. That's a good sign. They had 4 in the first 2 games combined. So that's a good thing. Obviously, you get Dallas Golden gets his interception, which is great for him just to kind of get off the mark as a freshman in your first game. Obviously, Christian Gray had an interception off a tip for Madden Faremo, who got a bunch of snaps in this game. So that's great to see. Let me see if I'm looking for Talich to see if he got any snaps. I don't see it. So we're going to have to monitor that. 6 breakups for Notre Dame in the game. That's also a big deal. Creating some havoc, right? So breaking up passes, intercepting the ball, 2 sacks, 5 tackles for loss. Obviously, it's a drop in opponent, but they are good signs for the defense and the things that you need to see. You kind of need to see going forward. Notre Dame superfan says Notre Dame scoring defense first half, second half. Miami 14-13, Texas A&M 28-13, Purdue 23-7. There are adjustments being made. There definitely were in the Texas A&M game. Miami was a little bit. It's kind of hard to say because Miami was a little bit. they had the ball so long for the first drive of the second half that, they didn't really have to, they didn't really have to press the issue. Both times, like on the final drive, Miami was able to go down and win the game. A&M was able to go down and win the game, although it took them a bunch of plays to do so. And the thing is I understand that there are adjustments being made, and I take the point, Superfan, that Purdue had 7 points. I think the other part too is Purdue knew that, they couldn't score enough. Notre Dame, they go down and score 42-13. I thought 42-23 after the first drive of the second half. And then I don't understand what Barry Odom is thinking. And I hope he gets asked this in the postgame. You're down 35-23. Notre Dame, you just moved the ball all the way down the field in 53 seconds against Notre Dame. Notre Dame goes down and scores to make it 42-23. There's only one way that you come back and win this game, and you need to keep the ball and keep scoring. It's 4th and 5 at midfield, and they punt. Inexplicable. And then they punt. They get the roughing on Jordan Faison. 3 plays, 67 yards later, Notre Dame, it's 49-23. The game's over. You can't win at that point. It's like stunning decision. Stunning decision from Barry Odom, and that's it. I thought the field goals that he took were stunning. You need to score touchdowns. Notre Dame scored a touchdown prior to. I'm gonna put up Notre Dame's drive chart here for a second, because prior to the CJ Carr coming out of the game and the fumble that they had, Notre Dame scored a touchdown on every single drive. First drive, touchdown. Second drive, touchdown. Third drive, touchdown. Fourth drive, touchdown. Fifth drive, fumble on the first play. Then halftime. Then touchdown. Then touchdown. Then touchdown. They willingly kicked field goals and punted when your defense literally could not stop them. Unbelievable decision making. I can't abide by it. It drives me insane. And he needs to be asked about it after the game, because he didn't give his troops the best chance for win. Jason Z says Arkansas losing is good for Notre Dame's chances next weekend. I think what's good for Notre Dame's chances is they need to get Leonard Moore back. They need to get Leonard Moore back. They need to get Adon Schuler back, and hopefully they can get a Devontae Smith back, because obviously they didn't play Carson Hobbs. So it doesn't seem like they believe in him, right? And this isn't me talking. This is just speaking of the fact that he didn't play at all. Maybe he's hurt, right? There was no hint of an injury after the A&M game. Obviously, he went the whole way at nickel in the A&M game, so it's not that. They obviously don't believe in him. They need to get Moore back. They need to get Schuler back, and they need to get this going, right? They need to find some answers for what they're going to do. Taylor Reese, thank you for this comment. Greg, thanks for all you and the staff do. Always great discussion. How would you fix this defense if you were DC step by step? It's tough to do it all in 1 week, but what would you fix first? They got to figure out how to generate pass rush. I had a few conversations during the delay about Notre Dame's defense, and at that point, they hadn't done anything in rushing the passer to that point in the game. And just think about, right, what good defense can you just think of, any of you who are listening right now? Think about what defense, all the great defenses that you've ever remembered, ever covered, or whatever it might be. What do they all have in common? They can all get after the passer. Like how good can a defense be realistically if the opposing team can bring as much pressure as they want, or doesn't have to worry about pressure coming, and they can drop back for as long as they want, right? You can't think of one. It doesn't exist. You cannot have a good defense if you're not pressuring the quarterback. They need to figure it out. However it is, whether it's ET stunts, whether it's TT stunts. They had the TT stunt that got Donovan Heinisch the sack in the first half when they forced the field goal, or at the end of the first half, excuse me. Like that is what, they did those things. If that's what you need to do, that's fine. In the first half, they couldn't get pressure, and they didn't have good rush lane integrity with their 4 either. So like not only were they not getting home, but then they were leaving running lanes for the quarterback to scramble through. And if they do that next week, they are going to get shredded. That is just true. They need to figure that out, right? And so there's the rush lane integrity they need to find out. They need to find out how they're going to generate pressure, whether that's bringing more players, whatever that might be. But they didn't have the answers in the first half of this game. And obviously, that's when you've put in your game plan. You're doing the things that you've game planned about. Like, I think Purdue ran out of steam because they knew they could not stay with Notre Dame. They obviously knew they couldn't stay with Notre Dame, right? I understand there's kind of a bind. I understand there's kind of a bind that Chris Ash has been put in because he's got youth back there, right? I mean, you're talking about Bronte Johnson, redshirt freshman. You're talking about Mark Zachary, freshman. You're talking about Dallas Golden, freshman, right? 3 of your 5 are true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. Tay Johnson's making his first start. It's difficult. I get it. They needed to have more answers to get after the quarterback in some kind of way, and they weren't able to do it. And Purdue scored 23 points in the first half. It's not good enough for what Notre Dame wants to be. You know, I mean, it's like the anti BVG, where it's like BVG gave up points because he was bringing all these pressures that were unsound and leaving guys out to dry. That's not what they're doing now. They're not bringing pressure, and the DBs are still getting beat. Notre Dame Superfan says, the point is the defense started out poorly compared to 23-24. Yes, maybe the losses of Watts, Kaiser, Mills, Cross have been greater than we anticipated. I mean, I think we all knew, like, it's hard to replace those players, right? You know, so like when we're talking about a drop-off, it's one thing to have a drop-off. It's another thing to where you lose a game because you gave up 41 points. That's another thing, right? You don't have to have greatness back there, like, you know, Xavier Watts, not to give up 41 points at home in a must-win game. That's not what you need, right? You don't need greatness back there not to give up 23 points at home in the first half to Purdue. I mean, look, I know there's some pieces, but it just, if Notre Dame isn't scoring with the proclivity that they are, we're talking about a different kind of situation here. And that's the part where, you know, they got to get right there. Here's a super chat from JSOM 23. I appreciate it. Is there a question that accompanies that? If yes, please put it in the chat and I will read it because you gave us a super chat. I'm going to look for it. CFB Hurt says, at Greg, I think the best case is mid-October, and personally, I'm expecting later than that. I think you're talking to maybe Greg Wasserman. Oh, Greg Bunt here says, how long till Jagusaw is back? It's gonna be a bit. I think there was a follow-up procedure that kind of complicated his return date. So we've got to we've got to, you know, monitor that situation. But I personally don't see him coming back anytime soon. If you're thinking about, and I think the question is surrounding Anthony Knapp at left tackle, because he's the one who gave up the strip sack, where obviously CJ Carr fumbled and gave a chance to Purdue to get back in the game. They put Lambert at left tackle when he went out. So if Joe Rudolph decides it's better for Notre Dame to have Gerby Lambert at left tackle and Sullivan Amsher at right guard, rather than Anthony Knapp at left tackle and Gerby Lambert at right guard, then that's a move he can make, right? I'm not going to yay or nay that because I don't see them practice. I don't know the particulars of that whole situation, but that's a move that Notre Dame could make, right? I get a lot of questions about could Notre Dame, could they do this? Could they do that? That's like, they could do a lot of things, right? I will just go down the roster, right? They could make a lot of changes. Will they make the changes? And should they? I don't know. But the fact that Notre Dame used Lambert at left tackle makes me believe that's a possibility that they could go with that. BG says, Freeman says the defense panicked. when they couldn't stop them. I'm wondering if that was from the press conference. Let me get some press conference quotes here. Actually, we'll read those live and then we'll react to them. Marcus Freeman comments on the defense. It's not like they don't know what they're doing. They know what we're doing. We have to execute. So basically, he's saying they understand their role in a particular call, which at times is debatable because they're looking around like they don't. But I think what he's saying is it's not super complicated, but they have to be able to play it. To me, here's the thing with player accountability versus coach accountability. All right, here's the thing for me is you can look at, especially on defense, right? And especially in coverage, someone is responsible for something every single time, right? If there's a catch in a zone defense, someone should be there to break it up. That's how it's worked. That's how it's designed, right? Unless you get just a great pass concept. But generally speaking, every time a catch is made, you can look to someone and say they should be accounting for that, right? And so if I'm watching all 22 and I'm watching Notre Dame play zone and they're giving up catches, I can show you on the all 22, this is what that guy should have done. Another example, right? Jalen Stroman, I think, in my opinion, on the touchdown at the end of the first half, I think he needs to be over top of that, right? That's what the defense is designed for. He is the single high. The ball is caught in between the hashes. He should be able to get to that, right? Especially when you have your freshman over there and you kind of know teams are going to target him. So you maybe should shade over there because it's the field side as well. So I could look at Jalen Stroman. I could say he needs to get over there, right? And I can look at any number of plays and say that guy should get here and that guy should get there. The thing is that good defenses, you don't say that over and over again, where this guy should get there and that guy should get there, right? Good defenses are just there and making the plays because they've scrimmaged it, they've practiced it, and they can just do it. And that is what Notre Dame's defense has been for the last 2-3 years, where it's just everything that they call, they're on it, they're doing it, they've been practiced on it, they've been repped on it, and they can just do it. And we're not seeing that right now. So the fact that there continue to be openings, there continue to be busts in the back, it's just indicative that, hey, they haven't been prepped well enough. And that will always, to me, be indicative of they need to be coached better. The team is only going to play as well as they've been trained to play. And right now they're playing to the level of their training, in my opinion. These aren't bad players. We've seen them play well before. They need to be trained better. Quote from Marcus Freeman in the press conference. Doesn't believe defense is confused, just not executing at the level they need to. It's kind of the same thing. Marcus Freeman talking about Jadarian Price. He is the most unselfish individual. I think that's true. Marcus Freeman on Dallas Golden has played both corner spots and nickel since arriving in June. Hasn't complained. Blessed with a skill set few people have, but also mentally the mentality to get coached. I mean, if he's playing both corner spots and nickel, I mean, obviously this is a player that is ready to take in information and is processing it well enough to where they can get him in the game. So that's obviously huge for his development and a good sign for his future at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman on CJ Carr, been different since he walked on campus. Competitive spirit and work ethic have allowed him to send. I think everyone should be thrilled with the way that CJ Carr has been playing. Let's go to some more quotes here, and then I'll get to some more messages in the chat. Dallas Golden is in the interview room, says he didn't play nickel much in high school. That's very difficult if you're going from not playing it very much to playing it at the University of Notre Dame. So look, for him, it's going to be a learning curve, and that's going to be difficult. I've got another super chat here from Terry Kelly. Thank you, Terry. H&H boys, how about getting a dub? That's very good. Winning is good. They needed it, right? They're 1-2 on the season, still ranked, and they a lot of people are saying. I saw it was who was it? Kirk Herbstreit says Notre Dame's going to win out. I'm going to tell you right now, if they don't fix this pass defense, they're not winning out. They're not even going to win next week, right? They've got to be able to defend the pass. Appreciate the support in the last couple of weeks. Did Notre Dame mix up front enough in this game? I think they did it more in the second half. I've got to talk to Jamie about that. I know they didn't really do that in the first half. It all seemed pretty vanilla to me. In the first half, it seemed very just we're rushing for. Every now and then they do an ET stunt, which is an tackle stunt, or they do a TT stunt with a stunt between the two tackles. They would do that every now and then. It all seemed pretty vanilla to me. I mean, they couldn't get home against Purdue for a lot of the time, and that's not a good offensive line. Jamie talked about it a ton on the preview show. Just weren't getting home, and they need to do a better job. JND says, if it's not Mickens' fault that Notre Dame has no experience depth in the secondary, who is to blame? If you've listened to me on my shows, I don't use the word blame very often. I don't like it. There's responsibilities. It is Mike Mickens' responsibility to get his players ready to go, right? I think it is fair. It is a fair question from JND, which I think you're getting at here, is we've kind of been talking about the depth Notre Dame has in the secondary, right? It is odd to me that Carson Hobbs is not ready to play football at Notre Dame at a high level. When he played last year and he was playing well in the spring, I mean, A, due to reports, and B, we saw him play well. Right? We saw him play well in the spring game, and it looked good. So it's surprising to me that he's not ready. That he's not ready to play field corner ahead of Mark Zachary. Like, that is surprising to me because he was a field corner last year. It's not like he's never played it. And he wasn't someone that was brought in to be a nickel either. I'm surprised by that. So that's part of it, right? So to JND, your question is I am surprised that Carson Hobbs is not ready to play at a high level to the depth piece, right? And last year, all right, so we look at last year, okay? Part of the depth is hurt because Devontae Smith has been hurt. So because that's kind of a corner spot. And like Jordan Clark never got hurt last year. So we look at last year, right? They had Ben Morrison and they had Christian Gray, and then it turned out they had Leonard Moore. My assumption is that this year it would be Moore, Gray, and then you add Hobbs, who could come in and be kind of like that breather for Christian Gray. Notre Dame hasn't had that. Carson Hobbs has taken no corner snaps, or excuse me, taken no non-nickel snaps, right? That I'm surprised, and I'm surprised that I guess not surprised. Dallas Golden and Mark Zachary are just not as advanced right now, nor is Cree Thomas, as Leonard Moore was, as Ben Morrison was. And that's closer to normal than you'd normally get. So it's his responsibility to get his guys ready to play well. If I'm going to the situation where I'm going to ask the most questions is not about Mark Zachary and is not about Dallas Golden, but like what's going on with Carson Hobbs? Why isn't he further along? Because he played last year and he was good in the spring and he was good in camp. So what's the deal? Like they gave him reps in a real situation against Miami. They planned on him being a good player. What's going on there, right? That would be my question for Mickens in a kind of like holding you accountable kind of way. So I think it's a fair question. I don't like the word blame, but I think he's accountable and it's his responsibility. So Taylor Reese, I'll just say Reese. Taylor Reese, I agree on Mickens to a certain extent as he has proven to be a good coach. And it's a new scheme, but he is responsible for getting these DBs ready to perform the game plan each week, right? Yes, absolutely. He is responsible. So he doesn't escape accountability. And this is kind of the point of what Marcus Freeman, and the point of that whole Tyler Buckner conversation that NBC had is that Marcus Freeman is holding everyone accountable, including himself, right? And Mike Mickens is accountable for his defense and the way that these guys are performing and looking at each other, and are they doing the right things? Are they executing at a high level? Like, it is his responsibility. Okay. And so he doesn't skirt that, and no one skirts that. And it's got to get better, right? It's got to get better. And if you want to get better in terms of your fitness or whatever it might be, then you can do that with pickleball. If you're a little bit older, you don't want to run up and down a court or play like flag and you're going to get yourself hurt. You could do that with pickleball. And I hope that you took advantage of the H2 pickleball crew with Todd Hill and fellow alums Jack Gibbs and Will Howells, and took part in the tournament this weekend for the Purdue game, right? There were medal rounds played on campus. A portion of the proceeds went to the Rockne Athletics Fund to support Notre Dame student athletes. There was a matchup between Reggie Brooks and Steve Berline against Ian Book and Josh Lugg. I got to find out how that went, and the whole thing went. There's going to be more events coming up, and so we're going to have to get some information on that. But if you're interested in pickleball in the Mishawaka area, then you can email Todd at h2pickleball.com, or you can call him at 574-339-5195 to join the league. Be sure to visit the H2 Pickleball facility in Mishawaka when you're in town. H2 Pickleball is located at 55801 Evergreen Plaza Drive in Mishawaka, Indiana. Rob Wozniak says it's going to be 35-7 Indiana. It's 34-7 right now. Unbelievable. This is a whooping. Signetti's gonna be making comments. Illinois. Top 10 Illinois. Hate to see that. CFB Hertz says the returning production bowl between Illinois and Clemson is going to be lit. A lot of returning production. Sometimes it's not that good. Hey, and by the way, you know, the funny thing is that when people were fading Notre Dame, it was because of the new quarterback and CJ Carr, and he's, not ready. And, at schools like Texas with Arch and Clemson with Klubnik, and, they got these new quarterbacks, and they've got the returning quarterbacks and this, that, and the other thing. CJ Carr has been unbelievable. He's been one of the brightest spots on the Notre Dame football team, and he continues to ascend. Jordan Faison today put up a photo of Jordan Faison. Goes over 100 yards. Let's see here. Let's check out his stats. Jordan Faison, 5 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. Ty Washington catches the ball 3 times. I don't know that there was a target for Raritan or Greathouse. It's interesting. Will Pauling catches 2 passes for 29 yards on 2 targets. Obviously, that was a little bit later in the game, but Notre Dame goes 17 of 20 passing for 281 yards and 2 touchdowns. Getting to some more of your comments. Envy Irish says, I don't remember Snead doing anything in this game. He was out there. I mean, you didn't see a lot from the linebackers. Because it was kind of like Purdue couldn't run, and when they threw, they were throwing it over the linebackers' heads. Saw some stuff from Drake Bone in this game. Saw some stuff from KVA in this game. Some Jaden Osbury stuff, but it wasn't a big. Linebacker type of game. BG says is Great House alive. He's out there. I7 says Steve Angeli got hurt. Yes, he did. It was non-contact too. It doesn't look good because it's unfortunate because he was having a huge game against Clemson and he's having a good season. So that's a bummer for him. Hopefully he's getting ready. Matthew Patterson says, can we take anything from Madden Framo playing as early as it seems he did? I mean, I think Max Bulla thinks he's ready, right? I mean, you don't play a guy with the linebackers that Notre Dame has if you don't think someone's ready. And I think, credit to Madden Framo. I mean, he's been picking it up. Obviously, he He's been working hard to understand the nuances of the defense, and they were able to put him out there. And then on his first series, he gets a pass breakup and an interception for Christian Gray. So that's great. I mean, I think, I assume he'll continue to get snaps, right, as the season goes on. JND says, what did you think of the O-line play? Seemed like fewer missed assignments. Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things, like, you got to go back and look at the all 22 on these things, but you run for 254 yards, 5.9 a carry. Jadarian Price and Jeremiyah Love combined for 8.3 and 8.2 yards per carry on 28 attempts, and those are your main running backs. So listen, if those two guys are averaging 8 yards a pop, they score 5 rushing touchdowns. You're doing a great job. And the other part too, I'll be interested to look at PFF numbers on this, how many missed tackles forced there were. I mean, obviously Jeremiyah Love on his long run, he forced some missed tackles, but I thought there was a lot of yards being gained before contact. They weren't really being conflicted in the secondary, or I'm sorry, in the backfield in this game, which is obviously a good sign. Purdue with 2 total tackles for loss. So when you run the ball, 43 times, and those players run the ball 28 times, and you only have 2 tackles for loss against, obviously you're doing well, right? That kind of goes without saying. So, I mean, it's good for the offensive line. They didn't have a good defensive line, so it's, they weren't the great shakes. It's something they should do, but it's great to see. And I think someone put in the chat, William Matt says, I love watching Notre Dame's running backs run. Like the run looks runny. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty exciting when, you see those guys and you just know that the defense has been put in a vulnerable position, and those guys can do some absolute damage against it. And it was nice to see them get out in the open, right? Like Jeremiyah Love specifically, like get out in the open and make some plays. Obviously, Jadarian Price, I mean, he shucked a guy on the kickoff return that is just, I can't tell you how much strength that takes to just discard someone who has just run 40 yards and is trying to hit you, and he discards him, and then he runs for a touchdown. I mean, Jadarian Price is playing at a level we just haven't seen him, right? He's 2 years removed from the Achilles now, or 3 years removed from the Achilles now. And if you look at, I believe he's got another year after this, should he want it. I mean, Notre Dame's got to throw the bag at him to try to get him come back, because he could do some serious numbers at the running back position next year. He looks amazing. I mean, he's never looked better than this. I mean, he's had the criticism about him is like, oh, he looks to bounce everything, and he's plugging it up in there, and then he's taking his opportunities when he can. And you can just tell, like, defenders are not used to how mobile he is and how quick he is and how fast he is. They think they have an angle, and he just outruns it, and they can't get to it. Rob Wozniak says 32 first half total yards for Florida. That's shaky at best. CFB Hertz says Notre Dame will be lucky to hold USC to 400 yards passing. That's a challenge, 100%. I mean, they definitely need to get more back for that. You'd love to get Smith back for that. Obviously keep Schuler and Tay Johnson healthy. I mean, they need their guys for that game, because USC can do some real damage. Envy Irish says James looks like a future stud. He looks good. Nolan James. I mean, he's very much like Kyron. It's kind of funny. That's E. Olson says Price shucked him, and then the guy gets blown up by his own teammate. Yeah, hate to see that. Envy Irish says Game 4 upcoming. Anyone on the sit out radar? That's a good question. I don't like to speculate. I don't want to speculate on that stuff. I mean, I think of if you think of someone, maybe I don't want to speculate on it, because this sort of thing goes out into the public. And Greg Flamong said on the IRSD's post-game show that X guy could sit. And I don't want to miss that. I don't want I don't want to get into that kind of stuff. Sam K says, sorry if I missed it, but what happened with Hobbs? We were talking about that earlier. I don't know. I don't know that he I don't know that he was injured. I don't know that he played. I saw him on the sideline. He certainly didn't look hurt, and he certainly didn't look sick or anything. So I think, that's something that maybe Marcus Freeman talked about in the post game that we can check in on. But yeah, didn't play that much. Patrick Hennessy says, looks like my take on the Godfather's post has put me in the doghouse, which is fine. I don't know what you're talking about. I'll check. I'll check it. I don't know what that's about. I'll look into it. Envy Irish says Jabron Payne, the first one. I think he wants to get his degree from Notre Dame. So possibly. Jason Z says, Greg, what's your overall panic meter? To be honest, that's a good question. I don't know that you guys got to tell me when I leave up this picture for too long. I love the picture for way too long. Panic meter. So I guess it would be unfair to really push the panic button until they get they got to get Moore back. They got to get Tay Johnson going right, because I think they haven't really played with their best secondary yet. Devontae Smith didn't play against A&M. Bronte Johnson didn't start against A&M. Leonard Moore didn't play in this game. Devontae Smith didn't play in this game. Schuler didn't play half of the first half when Notre Dame didn't look good, right? So it would be unfair for me to say I'm super panicked because I don't think they've put out their best five in the back yet. So I think Notre Dame needs to get to that point. If for whatever reason Leonard Moore and Devontae Smith can't go next week, then I would be fairly concerned, very concerned, because I don't know that Golden and Zachary, for as good as they could be, are in the future, are not ready for that right now. And so it's hard to expect for them to play at a high level. And I know that Adon Schuler helps, but if it's just Gray, Golden, and Zachary as your three kind of cover guys against the wide receivers, it's hard to have high expectations there. So until I see if Moore plays next week with Smith and you've got your five that you want to go with and it doesn't look good again, and they get beat in the second, then it's okay, this is a real problem, and it could. Envy Irish says, I like the chemistry between Carr and Gilbert, but on the scout team last year and paying dividends now. Yeah, I mean, Gilbert's a good player too. I thought I think it was Minchie who threw him a good ball. I like Gilbert. He's a good player, and I like the route that he ran. TD4ND, hey Greg, is Notre Dame's youth and inexperience their biggest liability? At this point in the secondary, yes, it is. When it isn't, if they have their five out there, they should be okay. We should expect a high level of play with Moore and Smith and Johnson and Schuler and Gray. We should. That's enough talent in the back to where you should put out a good product. I think their biggest liability right now is they don't have a pass rush that can scare teams. I mean, they did some good stuff in the second half, and I take that for what it is. But in the first half, they were not getting pressure, and that is not a good Purdue offensive line. Their biggest liability is the fact that they can't get pressure. And eventually, if your quarterback's just standing back there, as we saw last week, if he's just standing back there and he has time to survey the field and do whatever he wants, that's scary. It's scary. Because CFB Hurt says Chris Ash is Notre Dame's biggest liability. Yeah, I mean, because he's the coordinator, and this is what we've seen, right? It is a problem. I mean, he cannot scheme pressure. He cannot get pressure. It's his defense. Like I said, it's It's his responsibility, and he's accountable for it. Maybe there's players who aren't doing their things and working individually and making their individual plays. Maybe that's true, and I take that for what it's worth, but he has to scheme it up. He has to find a way to get pressure on teams. Taylon Green will shred you if you give him forever. CJ Bailey will shred you if you give him forever. USC will if you give him forever. Like, there are teams that can hurt you this year if you're not getting pressure on them. And so he needs to figure it out. It's got to get figured out. Mike Kane says, watching Arkansas today, there's no reason Notre Dame shouldn't drop 35 plus on them. It's so painful to say that I don't know that they can hold them to 34. I mean, it's true. Like, their defense, Notre Dame's defense looks really, really good. It just does. I'm sorry, their offense, their offense looks really, really good. I mean, in every game, they have looked good, with the exception of like Miami at times. But they're not seeing a front like Miami either. So it's just, it's what it is. I mean, the expectation is that Notre Dame's going to be able to score. And and I was saying to somebody else, like, Notre Dame scores 56 points today. The 56 today is better than Notre Dame's 66 last year. Because that Purdue defense was a disgrace. I mean, it was last year. It was ridiculous. They could just, any run play, they would go and score. I mean, it's not even some of these runs aren't even blocked well, and they're running for touchdowns. I mean, I thought what Notre Dame did in the passing game. I mean, CJ Carr had everything that he wanted. He never looked rattled. He never looked like unsure. It was just everything that he wanted, everything that Minchie wanted was there for them. This was a more well-rounded offensive performance than Notre Dame saw last year when they scored 66. Gotta find a way on defense. And here's the good thing. If people saw the interview with Marcus Freeman during the delay, he's exasperated. I mean, he's struggling to find answers, but he's looking like he is not pleased with this. He is not happy with the way that things have gone. Jason Z says, can Notre Dame turn the run game to help hide Notre Dame's defense against better teams? Not that it looks better the last two games. It could. They absolutely could play it that way. The thing is, Love and Price they're pretty explosive. It's hard to keep them off the field. Vamos Irish asks, is Price playing better than Love so far this year? I don't know if I'd say better. I think he's playing at a level that he didn't play at last year. Like, Price did not play at it last year. And I think he's a lot closer to Love's level this year. And I mean, from an efficiency standpoint, he might be, right? I mean, he looks really, really good. I mean, these are two backs that in the North Carolina, I mean, they could both rush for 1,000 yards credibly, So they're as good as you could really ask for. TD4ND says maybe blitz more. Yeah, I mean, you're blitzing. You could send more numbers, but then you're asking guys like Zachary and Golden to hold up. You got to count on them that they're going to be in the right coverage. It's a hard problem, right? Like, it's a hard question to answer. I understand that part, but it's got to get figured out. They do have to figure it out. And it's got to get figured out when Leonard Moore comes back and Devontae Smith comes back. Because here's the thing. It didn't look that great with those guys in there either. I mean, that's just true. So Notre Dame's got to get it figured out. They could blitz more, and I think that's what a lot of people want. That's what a lot of the things that people are looking for. Adrian DeVore says, I know we're frustrated with the D, but clearly someone else was calling the D in the second half and the way it looked like last year. Am I too many Coors Lights in? You know what, Adrian? There's something to this. I need to go back and look. We're monitoring that situation, okay? We're monitoring. I think it might be true. Because here's the other thing. I didn't see a lot of Chris Ash in the second half, just anecdotally, right? And maybe I was, I don't have any Coors Lights in, but we're monitoring. That's all I'm going to say. I maybe someone was, right? And maybe we'll get some word about that kind of going forward as to if there was a change, because you're not the first person to mention that to me. Just say that. Envy Irish says, Do you think Notre Dame didn't plan on having to scheme pressure because they overestimated the individual skill of the players? Yes, I do. 100%. I think that they believed going into the season, they thought they would win with 4 consistently. I think they thought they'd win with 4 consistently. I mean, because that's the only reason Marcus Freeman would keep mentioning we got to win with 4. We got to win with 4. He never said that last year. When did he ever say Notre Dame has to win with 4? Never. And suddenly they're doing that. So it's concerning. Matt Irish, thank you for the super chat. Good stuff, Greg. Go Irish. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. BG says, is Great House in the doghouse? No, I don't think so. Because I think he got unlucky with the fact that, because in that first half or whatever, I looked up, the only 2 players that had caught a pass from Notre Dame were Fields and Faison. They're the only 2 players. And it's like CJ Carr, when CJ Carr was in the game, Notre Dame threw 12 passes. It just, and I think he happened to be out of the game when Pauling caught his passes, right? Like Notre Dame just didn't throw the ball. I mean, and the other part too that's interesting is you have a quarterback like Carr who will use the field. The field is open now, right? The field was, when I say the field, I mean not the boundary, the field side, the wide side of the field. That's open now. Like they will throw those passes. I mean, they roll them out and they throw those deep outs. They're going to do that. They're going to do that with CJ Carr. He will throw that ball. That deep post, Riley Leonard tried to throw a couple posts last year, and every time it was picked off because it was thrown short. And CJ Carr throws it right over the top. I mean, it's a great post route. That hasn't been in Notre Dame's offense for a couple years. I mean, since or not a couple years. I mean, Sam Hartman could throw it, but they also didn't have someone like Malachi Fields who could kind of get to that point in the field. So I don't know. I think Greathouse just got kind of unlucky, and I think he's a team guy, and he just kind of understands that that's the way it goes sometimes. It's not a bad question. I mean, yeah. Envy Irish says, was more close this week. Is he back next week or still questionable? We'll have to see. I think it's good news that he didn't have like a boot on. Or, I mean, he might have had a brace. I couldn't tell he had pants. I don't know. He might have had a brace on, but he didn't have a boot. So that's good. That's good news. And I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with Devontae Smith. Because that's an injury we didn't see. It's an injury I don't know much about. It's like we're just going to have to continue to monitor the Devontae Smith situation. Scott L. Esquire joined late. The touchdown at the end of the first half was so galling. The true freshman quarterback stays on the receiver's hip from line of scrimmage, but the deep help was nowhere to be found. Solid second half, though. Scott, I agree with that analysis. I think the safety needs to be there, right? That's just my opinion. As his former safety, I would feel like I need to get to that ball. You're sitting there, you're deep middle, the routes run right at you. The quarterback's looking there. You got to get off. You got to get over the top of that and make that play. Mike Kane says Ash back next year. I don't know if he makes it to October. Yeah. I mean, it's got to get better. It's got to get better. Matthew Patterson says, I missed the safety and corner blitzes. Hopefully they return soon. Yeah, this was not the game for that, for sure. That was not going to be a good idea. Jason Z says, with Patelho, Traore only getting better coming back from injuries, are they getting full game snaps or being pitch counted? That could help the pass rush. I don't think they're being pitch counted. I think they're just rotating as planned. I don't know that it's actually like a pitch count, but I think they're rotating as planned. I mean, people mentioning Great House, like he had a slow start to the year last year, and then he blew up. Like there's going to be look with this offense, like Notre Dame's not going to be able to run the ball like that against every team. They're going to have to throw the ball a good amount, and that's good for Great House. He had a slow start last year as well, and so Notre Dame's he's got to be patient, and I think he knows that. He's been kind of through this. If I looked at the offense and I saw how Notre Dame would throw the ball and how CJ Carr was at throwing the ball, I'd be willing to be patient. Chris Conover says, I'm blown away with how bad the D-line is. This is the same D-line that we had all playoffs, and they were absolutely dominant and were so versus better teams. Ineffective, I think. I wouldn't say bad. I would say ineffective. They're not getting the and I will say, like, from a pass rush standpoint, like against the run today, they were good, right? Purdue ran the ball 28 times for 76 yards. They had a run along of 12. That's not going to get it done for any team. Like if Notre Dame, they ran the ball for 2.7 yards per carry. They couldn't run the ball. Maccabee 12 carries for 16 yards was their running back. So I think against the run, they were good in this game. To your point, they have been ineffective rushing the passer, and it just needs to get better. Plain and simple. They can't be a good defense with the pass rush being the way it is. It just can't. Envy Irish says it would be interesting to see Ash's blitz packages from his time at Ohio State and compare now. Then we have Notre Dame stats to compare. Yeah, we could go through that, but it's different eras too, different time. TD4ND. No one is talking about Mickens being responsible for the secondary performance. We've talked a lot about that. I think we talked a lot about that earlier. Although, to be fair, maybe I'm just late on that comment coming in. Mike Kane says, Greg, do you think Ash Hire was Tressel in Marcus Freeman's ear? I don't think it was Tressel. I think he liked the idea of – I think Marcus Freeman thought, his ends would be more effective rushing the passer. 4, I think he liked what Chris Ash did in that regard with Ohio State. And I think that he liked that Chris Ash was a head coach previously, similar to Al Golden. I think that's what he liked. TD4ND, everyone is blaming Ash. I'll just go back to what I said before. He is the top of the pyramid. It goes Freeman, Ash, coordinators. Ash is responsible for the performance of the defense. Mike Mickens is responsible for his defensive backs making plays in the secondary. So we talked about that. I talked about how he needs his safeties to play better. He needs his corners to play better, and he needs to figure out what's going on with Carson Hobbs. Because I don't know that you can play him as much as you did against Miami and Texas A&M, and then he gets no snaps today. That's a misread of the situation, and that is something he is responsible for. If you can't get snaps against Purdue, why is he getting snaps in the 2 biggest games of your season? Is my question. So he's accountable for that, 100%, right? But I think people focus on Ash because Mike Mickens is not responsible for the pass rush and getting pressure on the quarterback. He is not responsible for that. Envy Irish says, did you see the team more together in this game vis-a-vis your Absher defending Love from last game? Seemed like the guys were more together, but also, yeah, like winning obviously helps, right? I need to go back and look. The Absher thing is something that I noticed. I can't say is actually like a thing and is a big deal, right? It's just something you notice, and trust me, if Notre Dame stops the 4th down play and they win 40-34 and Notre Dame's 2-1 now, and they're like ranked 6th or whatever, I noticed the play with Absher and I don't say anything about why is no one else doing it. But they did lose, and so these things kind of stand out to you a little bit more. Sonny D says, was that a corner blitz that caused Carr to fumble at the end of the first half? I think it was a safety. Yeah, CFB Hurt says it was a safety blitz. Marcus Freeman said he needed to step up. I'll take him at his word. It seemed like he was kind of hanging back there a little bit. D Wheels 379. Envy Irish is spot on. Freeman and Ash expected better pass rush with 4 or 5, so didn't plan to bring as much pressure. They misread it. Yeah, I agree with him too. I think that's what happened. I think that is absolutely the case. Someone different in the second half. Yeah, we talked about that. A stubborn mix says it was amazing when they got pressure, how it changed the look of the defense. Yeah, like everything. I mean, that's what Marcus Freeman talked about, is marrying the two things, marrying the coverage versus with the pass rush. They got to work together, right? Because if Notre Dame is in a coverage that requires them to cover for X amount of time and the quarterback has longer than that, the coverage is going to break down, right? And that happens a lot with zone as well. So if you're going to play zone, if you stand back there forever, if the quarterback stands back there forever, eventually someone's going to come open. And so that's what he's talking about. Like, they get pressure, and all of a sudden the players are where they're supposed to be. The quarterback has the defense is where they're supposed to be. Quarterback doesn't have time. He either eats it or he throws it away, or it's a bad play, right? That's why I put out on Twitter, like, the first thing they have to fix is the pass rush. 100%. Michael Hoffman says, was X Watts that big of a stud that Notre Dame had this big of a fall off? I think X Watts was. I think Jordan Clark was. I think the pass rush was. I think Al Golden was. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into this, right? You got a new coordinator. You've got new safeties. You had a Don Schuler, ejected, kicked out of the game. I think you have a new coordinator. Like, it's a conflation of factors, but Xavier Watts is the man, and he's awesome. Irish, I wish I was a domer. Thank you for the super chat. Where does Jagusaw plug in when he's healthy? Gerby looks better each week. Let's just assuming when he comes back, I think that he'll go in at left tackle. That's my take. I think he'll go in at left tackle when he comes back. I don't think they'll take Gerby out of the lineup. Greg, what are you seeing on regards to Jaden Greathouse? Every other wide receiver is eating with Carr at quarterback. I'm not on the Jaden Greathouse hype. It never was. In my opinion, he's had 2 good games in an Irish uniform. I think he's had more good games than that, but that's fine. I think, again, when they've thrown the ball, he's done well, right? He just hasn't had a ton of targets. And again, like, it's hard because they can win outside now. They're winning with Malachi Fields. They're winning with Jordan Faison, right? So, and they're not throwing the ball very much. So if Notre Dame can win with those guys, they don't need to go to Greathouse, right? It's just unfortunate for him. I don't see anything from Greathouse where I think he's ineffective. It's not like the passing game has been ineffective, you know? It would be more concerning to me if Jaden Greathouse wasn't doing anything and they couldn't throw the ball. Then it's like, well, you need to find a way to get him the ball. But Notre Dame's being efficient in their passing game, and they're hitting explosives like it did in this game. It's just one of those things for Greathouse. Like, it's got to work out for him eventually. And, he had a big play against Texas A&M. It's not coming in. It's not coming in bunches. Clontarf? Is this what this is? Clontarf with the question. Traore and Botelho coming off injuries and Bryce Young adjusting to a new body. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I buy the whole new body thing. I take the point about Botelho and Traore for sure. There could be some rust there. They need some time to come back from their injuries. I take that's a good point. I take that point. I don't know about the Bryce Young thing. Because the staff was so high on him coming out of spring and coming out of fall camp. I mean, they were telling everyone who wanted to listen that Bryce Young was awesome and he was playing great. And it's just not happening right now. So and he had the same body then. I don't buy the body stuff. It's just not. It's not something I'm at. D Wheels 379 Dawson MIA weird. Rubio and Heinisch were good. So was Hughes, the defensive end pressure, and Onye that disappointed. Yeah. I don't know about Dawson. We're gonna have to check. Maybe he got hurt. E. Olson, Greg, do you think Marcus Freeman gambled and rested anyone that was banged up, assuming they could win this one and need them for Arkansas and beyond? I think Leonard Moore falls into that for sure. I think he could have played, but they didn't. They just figured we got to get him ready to go for the rest of the season, not just Arkansas, but the rest of the year. Can't have that injury linger, And they made that mistake with Faison last year where they brought him back too fast on the ankle. And it kind of affected him all year. So they didn't want to do that this time. Envy Irish says, got to take off. What time is the morning after show? Probably 11 a.m. Eastern time, like it was last week. I'll probably do that. So we'll be back. I'll be back. Time some ruminate, look at some stats, look at some stuff. And That'll be the deal. So I'm going to end it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the show. If you like what you heard, hit that like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we are going live. I'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time for the morning after recap show. Hope to see everyone there, talk about this team, talk about the performance, and, we'll look at some comments from Freeman and all those other things. So have a good rest of your night, everyone. Notre Dame gets a win, 1-2. 56-30. We'll talk to you in the morning. Keep hitting and hustling.